Our Democrat of the day comes to us from the very northern part of the state. Michael Northbird is joining us, District 2A. He's kind enough to join us today to talk about his campaign. Michael, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. First of all, we should mention is 2A is not the biggest district in the state, but it's pretty close, correct?
Yeah, it's. I've been told it's the second or third, but I'm just going to go with second.
Because it runs, you're northwest angle, so in the very northern, you're actually above the continental United States, usual line there, in the most northern part of the 48. And then you go, how far south does that district go?
Down to Akeley, Minnesota, which is just west of Walker.
Wow, man. How many miles north to south is that?
Oh, probably close to 180.
Wow. And so
quite a drive to. It's quite a drive to go from Akeley up to the Lake of the Woods.
For sure, it is there. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time because I know you're very busy with the size of the district here. Let's find out exactly who is Michael Northbird.
I am currently the environmental program manager for the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, and I was born and raised in Cass Lake, Minnesota. And I'm a tribal member of the Leech Lake Band enrolled in the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. But I'm also a Red Lake descendant. And the Red Lake Reservation is entirely in my district as well. So aside from that, I'm a father of one. And, basically spent my whole life in the district or in the area of the district up here. And know everything from how to get around without a map to a lot of the issues that people deal with because I live here.
What made you? What was the catalyst for you to say, you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm running for office this cycle.
Well, I mean, I've been. I guess you could say I've been kind of teeter-tottering the issue of running for office, public office, over the last few years, actually. But this year in particular, it just so happened to be a pretty contentious year down at the state legislature, and it really basically just reinforced my whole reason for running, the things that I was seeing and witnessing and being a part of, both as a member of the public and an environmental program manager for the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. Some of the things regarding like the environment and things like that were really starting to come to the forefront this year, and in particular, basically disregarding tribal sovereignty and things like that.
That obviously some major key issues here. It obvious the tribal issues are very clearly going to be near and dear to you. It is a shame to watch the Republican Party become this party of corporations uber alles, and they are willing to trample anyone's rights as long as it makes sure that the corporations and their political donations are happy.
All right, exactly. And one of the things that I want to do, I want a better Minnesota, and that's really one of the reasons why I'm running. I want to work to get Minnesota back to representing families' agendas and not corporate agendas. So.
The environment is obviously something that you're an interesting district. You had mentioned to me, you have this interesting dichotomy of a lot of people that want to preserve the woods and preserve the forest as best they can, and of course a lot of lumber industry up there as well. I mean, talk about that dichotomy. How do you approach that with your district as you're campaigning?
Well, coming from where I come from, the Leech Lake Indian Reservation, we co-manage the area along with the Chippewa National Forest, the U.S. Forest Service, because they overlap. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I have a history with is the co-management of sustainable foresting, where we work alongside the tribe, the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe works alongside the U.S. Forest Service, particularly the Chippewa National Forest, co-managing and regulating the harvesting of timber, so that's done in a sustainable way, identifying the lots that, are going to be getting harvested and the lots that need to be continued to have a future harvest. So, it's something that we've been working on here in my area and that kind of knowledge can be taken just off to the west in my district itself, regarding how to compromise. So
it's interesting.
So we don't just clear cut it.
Well, and you bring up the clear cutting. People don't realize. I don't think a lot of people realize. It was only 100 years ago. There wasn't a tree up in northern Minnesota at all. They had clear cut the entire northern part of the state for logging interests, and so you had. It's hard as it is for people to understand. Is we've already gone down this path of the corporation overall, and we lost a lot of our native trees. We changed the forest dramatically through that process, and we can't get down that. I'm very glad that you're there and you're running because we need people that understand that concept. Is that we've already dramatically changed what Minnesota is. And we just don't want to change it further.
Exactly, and pretty much the only plot of land that wasn't forested is just northeast of my reservation. It's called the Lost 40. It's a preserved area now, and it's called the Lost 40 because it was missed by mistake, thankfully. But like you said, most of it has already all been cut, and so that's what we've been working at over the last few decades, is ensuring that we don't just cut it all down again, and that we do it in sections, and those sections are agreed upon through co-management with also the state as well. Regarding the tribes and the relationship that the tribes have with the state. So, like I said, alongside the state, the Chippewa National Forest, we've been working on identifying the best practices. So.
And by God, I'm glad you are, because it's as you hear here, once again, Michael Northbird joining us. 2A is the Democrat of the day today. We're not talking about no lumber harvesting. Of course we're talking about it. It's sustainable. It's common sense. It's making sure that the business interests are being met while we're also preserving the forests.
That's right. Well, and 9 times out of 10, the foresters are on board with it as well.
Well, I would say actually 10 out of 10. One or two trees might get a little iffy, but let's talk about 2 other issues I know are near and dear to your district, which we've heard about from other rural districts as well, and that is education funding and health care. There has been a failure here in the state of Minnesota to address the education spending on a fair basis across the state. And once again, you've got a Republican Party that's been in charge who basically their whole goal is to make sure that you don't have any options of affordable health care when it comes to you and your family. Talk about those issues a little bit. What are you hearing up in 2A?
Well, it's I'll tell you about a story that I heard recently, and that was that this couple, an older couple, they used to live on a lake, had a great lake home, and they started, they got to their retirement age and retired, and thought they're going to live on their lake home, till they passed, and then pass it on to the next generation. That didn't happen for them. They had to downsize, and when they decided to downsize, they actually just gave up home ownership altogether just to be able to afford their health care. Their aging health was becoming an issue for them, and they knew that it was important for them to stay alive as long as possible, basically. So instead of just downsizing from a lake home to a smaller home, maybe in a neighborhood somewhere, they actually downsized to an RV. Wow. And now they live in an RV just to be able to afford health care.
That is a disturbing story. It's a story, unfortunately, that's been repeated across the state, where their health care costs, because we have politicians, the Republican leadership is not caring about the well-being of the constituents of the state, that we basically have people where your entire life savings, you're supposed to enjoy your retirement on the lake, enjoy yourself, not be living in an RV wondering where you're going to be parking at night just because, God forbid, you want to have some effective and affordable health care.
Exactly. And another story to that would be, I heard from this gentleman who has some nephews that were having some health concerns and health issues, and because of their jobs, their income was a little bit above the level for receiving healthcare assistance, that it was costing them so much that they just quit their jobs, and now they work for their uncle for, basically cash, like just instant cash. And I don't know, the whole story behind that one, but basically the uncle was talking to me about how do we get my nephews able to afford health care and also have a decent job. Basically, they have to have a non-livable wage paying job in order to afford health care, and because then that's when they would get the health care assistance. And so, these guys, they had good jobs basically and quit those jobs just to be able to get health care assistance to afford the health care needs that they had.
It's that dichotomy. It's almost like I've referred to it one time before as the shame system. The Republicans keep wages down so people can't make money. Then they make things so obnoxiously expensive, like health care, that for you to be able to afford it, you actually have to have a non-livable wage position, because it's a system that is it's broken. And the reality is we were taking some right steps with the Affordable Care Act. If we put in a single payer system, we'd have a much healthier country. It just is that we wouldn't have the corporate greed being fulfilled by the Republican Party that we do today.
That's right, and I support that single payer system. You kind of touched on another thing too, as well, is the livable wages. Minnesota's minimum wage, I think, is $7.87 an hour. We need to change that. We need to make livable wages across the state, both in the urban areas and the rural areas, not just the urban areas. And that's something that I want to try to fight for as well, is increasing the state's minimum wage, but also empowering local businesses and small businesses, family businesses, to be able to afford it as well. To not only pay the livable wages, but to also provide decent benefits that are also affordable, including the health care.
And it just infuriates me. I mean, we get some communities that go on out there to try to address this wage inequality, which we clearly do have in this country and in this state. And as opposed to say, wow, things are that people only get paid that amount of money. My goodness, we need to fix that. Instead, what they do is they try their hardest to try to rein in those outlaw cities that want to pay their people a livable wage. I mean, we've had horrific leadership from the Republicans. We need a change. Michael Northbird is once again running for the DFL in 2A. You are in one of the most beautiful districts in the entire state. There is we're gonna sell this as a tourist destination this summer. It is gorgeous up there in 2A, correct?
Yes, I'll agree. Everywhere from Akeley on up to the little places along the way, like LaPorte, and over to Bagley, which is kind of on the western edge, up to Clearbrook, across over into Beltrami County, northern Beltrami County, including Red Lake, and all the way up into Lake of the Woods, Baudette. Just awesome country, beautiful place to come to, a great place to spend your hard-earned dollars and get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Love
Zipple Bay. Okay, so here's what I want people to do. We make this plea for everyone out there. First of all, I want you to go to Michael's webpage, michaelnorthbird.com, michaelnorthbird.com. We need volunteers up there. This is a massive district. We need door knocking. We need phone callers. I imagine there are parades going to be going on with some of the community festivals. We need volunteers up there, and it's a fantastic place to go vacation. Take a few days, go on up there, then spend 4 or 5 hours helping out Michael's campaign, helping to turn 2A blue. And I can tell you this right now, the Republicans are not – they're not even banking on having to campaign there. So if they have to start campaigning there, they're not prepared for that. This is a district we can pick up, and it is a gorgeous district. If you're in a safe DFL district right now, that's great. Help out your local person, but then go on out and help out a Democrat running in a Republican district. 2A is sensational. Beautiful forests, beautiful lakes, a great place to go spend some time. And once again, considering the size of this district, Michael, I'm sure you would love to have some volunteers come in and do some door knocking over the weekends.
Oh, definitely. And, a couple of the major events that are coming up here in the beginning of August would be Beltrami County Fair in Bemidji, Minnesota. and Clearwater County Fair in Bagley, Minnesota. So, you just look up their county fairs and pick out a time and date when you can come, and then you just go on my website. There's a volunteer link on there, and you can choose what you want to volunteer for, whether it's phone banking or door knocking, and we'll hook you up.
For sure, and make a donation as well. Make a donation. MichaelNorthbird.com, MichaelNorthbird.com. I'll link to all this a little bit later on from the Mighty 2A. Michael, all my best in your campaign. Good luck. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you again. I appreciate it as well.
My pleasure. We'll spotlight that, of course. Michael Northbird is Democrat of the Day. 2A is the district. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.